Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here for our Town Hall Tuesday for October. This is a very special one. We had originally planned something else, but the comprehensive planning effort came up, and we needed to have a night to work with the citizens and get some input. So what better than a Town Hall Tuesday? And so I want to thank everyone for taking a little bit of time out of your evening tonight. Just for logistics sake, just to remind everybody, we do live stream our Town Hall Tuesdays on Facebook, and we're also broadcasting this on our city's website. So if you missed something during the presentation and want to go back, it will be posted later this week for you to view again. Since this town hall is a little bit different, when we go to the breakout sessions and everybody goes to the back to work on the boards, that's when we'll cut off the video. So that'll probably be the most boring part of the viewing audience. So, but while we're speaking, we'll be on video. And we have, if you're new to Town Hall Tuesday, new to the training rooms, women's restroom is out that door and to the right. Men's restroom is to that door and to the left. So feel free to get up and wander around, stretch your legs if you need to. We're not going to hold you to your chairs tonight. But like I said, and what hopefully brought you here was the opportunity to plan for Mesquite's future. We do a lot of things in the city that are focused on the near term, but some of the best practices and the best things we do are focused on the long-term viability of our community, either through financial efforts, through planning, or through long-range discussions on what we want to be as a community. And the comprehensive plan is focused on land use and how traffic flows and how we utilize our open space. And we need your input. Mesquite has changed over the last 10 years since we've last done a comprehensive plan. So we may have a different trajectory. And so after tonight, you can say that you were a part of the effort to plan for Mesquite's future 10 years, 20 years, maybe even 50 years from now. Your efforts will be felt by the citizens of Mesquite. And for this effort, we have engaged a firm called Friese Nichols, and they are experts when it comes to comprehensive planning, and we're really proud to be working with them to push this project forward. So I'm trying to remember my agenda, Jeff. Is it you or Friese Nichols that I bring up? All right. So with that, I'm going to bring up Shad from Friese Nichols, and again, we'll be up to answer any questions after their presentation.
As the city manager mentioned, we're going through the comprehensive planning process, and so we're kind of at the beginning of the stage. We kicked it off earlier this month. We met with city council. We met with some stakeholders in the community, such as Eastfield College and some of the chamber and other stakeholders in the community. We also had some workshops with city staff as well. And so we wanted to come to you, the community, because this is your plan. This is your community, and we want to know what your vision is for the community and for the upcoming generations as well. There we go. So this is just a snapshot of the agenda that we'll go through. But just want to talk a little bit about why planning is important. By a show of hands, do everybody believe that planning is important? All right. So we're in the right place. So planning is important. It's very important. When you think about a community has various elements and components. Some things are here, some things are there. People think this, people think that. And so we want to be able to put all of those pieces together in a comprehensive document so that we may be able to understand and give ourselves some direction. And so planning is important because it gives us direction. It also gives us a vision. It shows us where we want to head in the future. So how does this relate to comprehensive planning? So what is a comprehensive plan? Comprehensive plan involves a lot of components. You'll see here on this list that land use is part of comprehensive plans, transportation, you have neighborhoods, you have various land uses. And so the comprehensive plan puts all of these elements together. It's a document that helps the city and the city staff as well as city leadership to move into a certain direction. It also provides a basis for capital improvement programs that you have on a yearly basis. It also helps with city budgeting as well. So it's a guide. It helps to establish policies. Now, one thing that a comprehensive plan is not, it's not one of those documents that regulates land use. So a lot of times we hear the question, well, the future land use plan says that this location is going to be this and that, but it has to be in conformance with the zoning map as well. And so it's a guide. It helps to kind of guide that city policy. It's not rigid, so at the end of this process, when we develop this comprehensive plan in conjunction with the city, that doesn't mean that it's not going to change, because things change, the economy changes, there are a lot of things that change, and so we want to make sure that the document and the plan is flexible enough so that it can be changed, it can be updated over time. And then I always like to point out that final bullet there, that it's not the final answer to all the challenges that the city is going to face. There are a lot of things that, as much as we like to look into the future and try to plan for it, there's just some things that we just don't know at the moment. And so it's not the final answer. So again, it'll have to change and be updated over time. The comprehensive plan for the city of Mesquite is going to comprise of these 5 key elements. You have your future land use, your mobility and circulation, housing and neighborhoods, community design and character, which also kind of speaks to the aesthetics of the community or how a person identifies that they're in the city of Mesquite, and also public safety and health as well. And so when we go through this process, we're going to go through a 3-phase process that gets us to the end of the project. But this first phase is very important, not only for us, but also for the community as well, because this is where we we listen to all the input. We gather a lot of data. We look at previous plans and studies that have taken place over time. And we pull all of this together so that we can then jump into phase 2, where we start to look at the various specific components of the plan, those 5 elements that I just mentioned, because the plan is a community plan. And so when we start to look at these elements and these components, we want to make sure that the input that we receive, all the information that we hear from you all and city staff and leadership, that is reflected in the recommendations that you will see in the final phase, in phase 3, which pretty much wraps up everything. It gives the community direction, action items, things that they need to do in order to achieve the vision that we said that we wanted to achieve and said what we wanted to become over time. So I'm not going to put anybody on the spot, but I hope everybody has at least heard about the community survey or taken it. And if you hadn't, we have an opportunity tonight that we'll talk about in a few minutes, that you have an opportunity to take the survey. But this survey is very important because it helps us to hear what you're thinking. Some people don't like to say things in public or in input boards, but they'll write a lot. And so we want to hear all of that information that you have, everything that you've been thinking about over the last couple of years of, how you want your community to look, those things that are important to you. And so if you take the survey, you'll be able to give us information on whatever you like related to the city of Mesquite, good or bad. But we're going to take all of that information together and we're going to compile it. And you'll be surprised when we start to compile that information, we start to see patterns that develop and themes that develop. And these are going to help us, and they're going to become our guiding principles and our goals as we continue to go through the process. So I'm not going to make you promise to me, but I hope everyone, if you haven't taken the survey, that you'll take the survey after tonight. And not only take the survey, but I want you to tell your friends and your neighbors and your church members, everybody you come into contact with, to take the survey. And I will add that you don't have to be a resident of Mesquite to take the survey, but if you know someone who works here in the community, who has a business in the community, we want to be able to get their input as well. So just to talk a little bit about planning context. Planning in Mesquite is not new. You'll see here about a timeline that there's been previous studies and efforts that have been done over the last years. And this information that has been in these previous plans, we don't just throw that out and we don't throw it away. We want to be able to look at that, and we want to see some of those things that are still relative, some of those goals and objectives that may not have been completed yet. We want to take that information and we want to also see how it fits within the new comprehensive plan that's being developed. You may be familiar with the downtown infrastructure plan that is currently, I think it's maybe getting close to a finish, but that's an effort that's being done as well. And so that information is going to also feed into the new comprehensive plan. So just look at a couple of key demographics. You'll see here that the population of Mesquite has been growing for a very long time. Around the early 1950s, it seems like someone looked toward the east and they said, Mesquite, we're going to move there. And so you see the population jump, and it continues to grow today. When you look at the maps, you'll see that there's a lot of undeveloped land, especially along the I-20 corridor. And so the population is going to continue to grow over the years. So how do we best serve that population is one of the things that the comprehensive plan is going to be addressing. You'll also see something interesting here on this slide is the median age of Mesquite is 32.3. So that's a fairly young community. So we have some young families, some young professionals in the community. And so when developing this plan and when we're giving our input, we want to make sure that we're not only planning and giving the vision that we want to see for ourselves, but also what future generations would like to see and how they would like to function in the community also. The age of housing stock is another interesting and important key demographic as well, because it tells us the age of our housing. And so when we start to move into the future, do we need to start looking at the maintenance of our housing and how does that fit into the future of the community as well? And this shows the employment by industry. So there you'll see that there's a variety of industries here. And so in terms of the comprehensive plan, are there any missing industries or any missing businesses in the community that we'd like to attract in the future? Are there any industries that may not be as relevant today as they once were? And so these demographics are important and they help to show us the patterns, but they also help us to plan for the future as well. All right, so I know that you didn't come to hear me talk the whole time, so we're going to have an interactive exercise. We want to get some input from you. We're going to start by doing a polling survey. And so they're passing out right now these polling devices. I will warn you, if you walk off with it, it will self-destruct if you walk outside, so please return them. Please return them after the presentation. But if you look at it, it looks like a small calculator, and it has numbers and letters. You'll see the corresponding numbers on the screen here in a few. And it's real simple to use. All you have to do is just press a button, and it's going to record your responses. We're going to see it in real time, so you'll be able to kind of see how the room feels about these questions that we ask. So it's real simple. If you want to change your answer, you can do that. The polls won't close until I move to the next slide. So I'll let you know when we get ready to move to the next slide. So just to make sure that we all have the hang of this, we're going to do a test question. It's already on. All you have to do is press it. So our first test question that we have here, we want to see how good you are and how you can function with these. Which of the following is not true about Mesquite? And you can only choose one. And I see it's calculating the responses now. Still getting responses coming in. We're up to 41. All right, I think we're good. So we have some. So what is the answer? It's B. Yeah, it is B. So since it's not the rodeo capital of South, what is it? Oh, Texas. There you go. There you go. All right, so everybody got the hang of it. All right, so now we're going to move into some more serious questions related to the community. All right, so you're only voting on the image that is highlighted at the moment that you can see. And so what do you like most about living in Mesquite? Is it parks, strongly like, neutral, dislike, or strongly dislike? And this will be the choices for the next 5 questions. All right. So great, we like our parks. And by the way, I've heard a lot of great things about Mesquite Park, so I need to get out and jog one of these mornings. So what do you like about living in Mesquite? Next one is neighborhoods. All right. A little more of a spread on this one. Recreation. Schools. Employment. And the last one is shopping. Or retail. Next question, what would you consider the greatest single issue facing Mesquite today? And you only have one choice on this one. And you have several choices: competition from other cities, traffic or pedestrian circulation, neighborhoods, variety of retail and shopping opportunities, education, schools, employment or job opportunities within the city, infrastructure, perception of Mesquite, or other. So look like infrastructure and perception of Mesquite. Top 2. Next question, which of the following do you believe would enhance the overall community character and identity? Here you can choose any that apply. Everyone good? So neighborhood improvements and amenities and redevelopment of older retail commercial areas. In one word, what do you believe will make this plan successful? You can only choose one. Buy-in, implementation, engagement, accountability, or education. And when we're talking education, we're talking about educating people about the plan, but how the community functions. Making sure that everybody's on the same page. Implementation and engagement and accountability are tied. We're going to have city managers, we're going to have city manager come up for a minute, and then we're going to come back and we're going to explain the various input stations that we have.
Please make sure you return your devices. We don't want anybody in trouble or tackled out in the parking lot. Typically, we wait till the end of the town halls to answer questions and interact with those in attendance. But with the exercise that we have, we thought we would do this in the middle tonight. So at this point, does anybody have any questions about the comprehensive plan process? Anything that we can address? Are we going in the right direction by doing the planning? Is everybody? Okay, good. So do we have a question?
Yes, sir.
Oh, I need a microphone, please.
Yes, sir. On the medium income, is that based on a 2-earner family or a 1-earner family?
I think that's an individual statistic. That's
Thank
the
you.
individuals that were reported on the census. So. Seeing that everybody's anxious to get to the exercises tonight, so if I'll have the city manager's office staff and other senior staff, if you'll raise your hand. Debbie, you too. So if you have any questions about things going on in your neighborhood, something that's a personal issue that you want to address, we do have staff here, and we'll be here through the as long as people are here asking questions. So we're happy to answer any questions. And at this point, we'd like to turn it over to our council members to say a few words if they'd like. And we'll start with Mr. Miklos and work our way around the room. So do you have any comments?
Wow. Thank you, Mr. Kahili. I know, right? I had that look like, really? I'm supposed to say something? No, I appreciate that. Thank you all for coming out tonight. The key issue is, and I say this at a lot of meetings, the council members and staff know, we know what we think. What's absolutely important is to hear what y'all think and how you want the pieces to fit together, what you want to see the future of the city to look like, or not to look like. And so with that, what an incredibly short speech from someone who usually talks on and on and on. Please make your wishes and desires known. We're here and we're here to listen, and not just listen, but hear what you have to say.
Well, I'm going to do the same. I want to thank all of y'all for coming tonight. And I really believe that a big part of this is all about the future of our city. In just recent years, we are seeing more and more changes in our city, as our city manager has mentioned already. And we need to hear from y'all. This is very important. We need to know what the people desire, what they want. So we're here to listen. And as we get involved in these exercises and all that we're doing, we want to give you that assurance and of knowing that we're listening to you. So thank you for coming out this evening. We appreciate each one of you. Thank you.
Well, I want to say thanks to our staff and for their insight, as well as our consultants and the hard work that they're doing, for the citizens that came out just recently for the little workshop that we had. We had some incredibly good, insightful, deep conversations about the future of Mesquite. And I'll just echo, first and foremost, what my colleagues said about it's very important that we know what you're thinking, what your hopes and dreams are for the future of this town. Government can't provide that vision. The people have to give that vision to government. I will say this, we have to make these plans and govern this city from a very realistic perspective. We can't plan the way Frisco would plan or the way Rockwall would plan. We have to plan from where Mesquite is today, not where we were 20 or 30 years ago, even though we want to keep those values we had 20 or 30 years ago and keep those moving forward. But we have to plan ahead for where we are today and hopefully with a little bit of heavenly wisdom of where we're going tomorrow as we continue to have new kinds of faces that come here and people with different backgrounds and different cultures who will all one day be a part of this community moving it forward. I could talk about lots of things, whether it be moving old neighborhoods ahead or bringing in new economic development. All those things will come from this process. I'll just end with this. I hope and I dream that from all these efforts today, that as we're building some nicer, executive, beautiful big homes in Mesquite, Texas, which we need, we want to keep doing that, that in other parts of our city tonight where there's some poverty and some struggle and some lack of opportunity and hope, that some of those children, if we all do our job right in the coming years, that one day, 20, 30 years, some of those kids will live in those bigger, nicer homes because they've had opportunities here in Mesquite, Texas to build a great future. And maybe they'll be up here standing with some of us elected leaders in the future. So that's my hope and vision. Thank you.
Well, I too want to thank everyone that's come out tonight for this process. It's always exciting when I saw the city manager and staff putting out more chairs because we didn't have enough out. I mean, that's a great thing that our citizens are wanting to get involved. But the one thing I'd want to say is when we're doing this process, let's keep an open vision. If we want Mesquite to stay the way it is right now, then that's the way it's going to stay. But let's have an open mind and let's try to look into the future. What things could we bring in? It might be a little change, but change is not always bad. So let's keep an open mind and see how can we make Mesquite better than it is now? What can we bring in? What changes can we make that maybe could make it better than it is now? So just keep an open mind when you're, going through this process of, think, maybe we could do a little different development here, or a little different development here that maybe we don't have in Mesquite right now, but it might bring in those higher incomes that we need to get other development that we need to bring Mesquite forward. Thank you.
Sorry, running up from the back, right? I know y'all are all excited and ready to get started on this interactive process we have tonight. My name's Stan Pickett, Mayor, and if you hadn't heard of everybody, because I didn't hear everybody introducing themselves, we have Mayor Pro Tem Dan Alleman, Deputy Mayor Pro Tem Tandy Burrows, Councilman Miklos, and Councilman Archer. So they always remind me when we come up, not everybody knows who we are, so we want to tell you who we are. So, comprehensive land planning is, in some respects, you think, well, land planning, okay, I got some houses and some retail and some schools, and that's land planning, right? That's what we think about. But in reality, what we're looking for is what you've heard from tonight already and what you're fixing to get a chance to get involved with is that what do we dream about? I had a few years ago a council member that was newly elected, our youngest elected council member, Mr. Casper, and he was pushing hard on technology. And my first thought is, we don't have that here, but you know what? That's okay. So because those young people that Mr. Archer mentioned about, that's what they want to do. They want to work in the technology field. And so what can we do in a land planning standpoint, from an accountability standpoint, from a transportation standpoint? What can we do to create opportunities in the future for that, for example? And so I think that's just some of the things that you'll see. And I hope you enjoy tonight. We don't come up here to talk about politics and about us. We really just wanted to hear from you, as you've already heard. And
there's an old saying from many years ago that it takes a village, but in reality, it takes all of us. I say this every time I get a chance to speak. You, the citizens, are the eyes and ears of this council, and we need your support and input to tell us what's going on. Somebody said something to me just a week ago about a pothole that busted his tire and all that. And I just stopped him. I said, sorry to hear that. Did you call it in and tell us where it was? No. I can't, we got maybe 1,000 vehicles on the road, but they may miss that pothole. So call us, let us know, tell us what's going on, we'll fix it for you. So with that, come on up, let's get started. Thank you.
Again, just wanted to thank everyone for being here tonight. Following the exercises in the back of the room, y'all are free to go. But again, if you have some questions for staff, ask questions about what's going on in the community, we're here to answer those questions and interact with y'all for as long as y'all want to be here. So with that, I will bring Shad back up and we'll get started.
Okay, I'm going to explain the input stations that we have and the type of input that we're looking for. The first one you'll see in the back, the large rectangular board there is, tell us your vision for Mesquite. I like to see Mesquite this way or this particular neighborhood. Whatever your vision is. It could be one word, it could be a sentence, might have a dissertation, but we want you to tell us your vision. The next one, where do you live? So that board is over here, where do you live? And my favorite thing about Mesquite, so where do you live? We want you to place a dot, proximate location of where you live. You might not be able to find your house on there, but proximate location, we just want to get an understanding of the input that we have here tonight in the room. Also, my favorite thing about Mesquite is, again, what is that? Is it parks or the community, family oriented, whatever that is, want you to be able to tell us what your favorite thing is. What are the focus areas? That board is there. It has some blue circles, ovals on it already with some locations called out. Those are some of the focus areas that we've kind of identified already through some of the input that we've received, but there may be some other focus areas that you think need to be focused on in the city. So again, place a dot there. But on this particular board, you'll see that there are 3 colors. So we want you to be able to rank those 1, 2, 3. So what are your top 3 focus areas? And if there are others, we want you to tell us that also. What is missing right next to that table? This one has some marbles, and not the marbles that we grew up with because those don't roll, but we want you to be able to just drop the marbles in the jar. You'll see that there's a legend there on the board next to it. What's missing in Mesquite? Is it housing choices? Is it entertainment venues? And so we want you to be able to top 3 again. So take only 3 marbles. And place them in those the jars of which you think are missing. We have transportation and circulation. We have housing and neighborhood. And then what is Mesquite's identity? So housing and neighborhood, there are some statements there across the top, and you'll see the corresponding dot that's related to that statement. And so wherever in the community you see that issue, for example, place a dot by the locations that, oh, my eyes are getting bad, need additional parks and recreational programming. So you'll take that green dot and you'll place it in the area in the community where you think there needs to be some more or additional recreational programming. The same thing for the transportation and circulation. For example, place a dot where you think that there should be some more or safe and locations that needs to be more safe for pedestrians. And so you'll take that dot and place it in an appropriate location. And then what is Mesquite's identity? What is Mesquite known for? What do people say when you tell them that you live in Mesquite? So you'll see there, you could place it next to the ones that are given, but if there are some other ideas or some other things you think Mesquite is known for, we want you to be able to write that down at the bottom of the board. So just kind of give you a little bit of information on next steps as we move forward. So we're going to continue collecting information. Again, we're in phase one of this process, and so it's a lot of data gathering. There's a lot of information that we're collecting. So we'll be continuing to collect that information as well as the survey also. We're going to start to kind of develop that community snapshot. So what does Mesquite look like today in its present time? And so we'll start to kind of develop that. And then we're going to have we're going to meet with the community again. We're going to meet with you 2 other times throughout this process. So this isn't your only time. So as we start to develop things and analysis and recommendations, we're going to come back to you, and we're going to kind of poll you again and hear from you. And are we heading in the right direction? There are some things that we need to tweak or change. And so we'll be back before you again. I want to point out a couple of things that I want you to take before you leave. So on that back table there, it kind of looks like a USB, but it's actually a car charger. But what's interesting about this car charger is that it has the comprehensive plan logo on the front, and it says connecting the community. So whenever you plug in your phone and your battery's low, we want you to think about the comprehensive plan and just kind of think about your community. There's a place on the survey on the project website where you can leave additional information. So if you think of something that you might not have thought about before, you can leave that information. But we want you to be able to take this and also give some to some friends as well. And there's also some cards, look like door hangers, but it has the information about the process. It talks about the comprehensive plan, what it is, a lot of the information that we went over with you tonight. It's both in English and in Spanish. Take some of these cards and you could pass them out to friends and family as well. So again, we appreciate you coming out this evening, appreciate your time, and we're looking forward to your input. If there's nothing else, thank you, and go have fun.